Most of us often chase rather pumps than established memes. And a green candle is somehow spoiled for us until it's screenshot. We stare at charts, forgetting it changes nothing. We watch charts, but not ourselves. This is a disaster. For as a result of confusing dopamine hits with actual profit, we are destroying our net worth. We are so tied up in FOMO and charts that we've lost all conviction. Time to wake up. What is alpha? Obviously, nobody can say, because it isn't just drawing lines on charts. It isn't rotation meta, that's just an idea. Alpha is the Giga cycle cannot be explained in words.
Let's get ready to rumble! It's time! What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Giga Motion with my boy, Big Cutlet himself, Chuck Crypta Mangione. We got an exciting episode for you guys today. We're going into the don't be nervous, but we're going in to the nervous system. But before we do that, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, just the way that hat sits on your head, you must have some dome, bro. You gotta have some dome. I have a Zika head, literally. I'm like a Zika baby. It's terrible. When I first got the hat, because it kind of like sits up, like when I pulled it down, I'm like, oh, dude, you look like a frog. Like now I just kind of
there's nothing wrong with that. Some of our listeners might be Zika babies, so if you're listening, this is an inclusive stream.
Yeah, dude, it's for everyone. It's for everyone.
Oh. Chicken cutlets. Let's what's up, chat? Chicken cutlets with creatine. Sounds good. Have you tried that, man?
Yeah, man, every morning.
Every morning.
I put some creatine in the breadcrumbs, actually. That's the secret sauce right there.
That's the sauce.
I was on Pond Talk streaming making chicken cutlets 2 nights ago. He was like, dude, you want to come on? I'm like, I'm doing my food prep. And he's like, dude, just put the camera in the kitchen. I was like,
was Uapu even able to focus, or was he just salivating the whole time?
He was asking a lot of questions. That was funny though. It was all good.
Did he cross interrogate your cutlet making?
No, but speaking of him, he's on some fitness journey, man. And he just did a 72-hour fast. And he just bought like 6 pounds of steak. He's ready to rock. No, that's gonna be fun. Like by like Christmas time when he's down like over 120 pounds from his starting point. Just shows you like it's every day, right? It's the little things over time.
I'm kind of jealous. I kind of want to gain a bunch of weight just so I can do an epic transformation.
Yeah. Well, what's going on with you working out? I know you said you stopped more power, like getting away from heavier lifting, getting back to your like I don't want to call it gymnastics. That sounds good.
That sounds pretty cool.
So what would you say what is your routine look like right now?
Gymnastics, like running around with the ribbon. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I just remember that high school.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah, I switched up my training a little bit. I've been doing more functional stuff, a lot of calisthenics, a lot of handstands, a lot of active mobility, did a functional movement class, been doing a lot of acro yoga, something I really enjoy when I'm single, pretending to like acro yoga, but switching more up into functionality because I achieved kind of the size and the physique that I wanted. And then I found some of my movement was kind of hindered. So I had to back off the meathead a little bit. And ultimately it breaks down. Like it depends on what your goals are, right?
Yep.
Like we did our stream last week, with Jack,
awesome,
Base Manager. amazing stream. I've never wanted to take a bunch of steroids more in my life.
I love that guy, bro. I love that guy's energy, man.
I do want to give a quick caveat to that, though, because I wanted to make a video about it, but I'll just say it on stream. Obviously, we went over a lot of the pros of pharmacology, but like he mentioned, there's a lot of downsides as well. It's not necessarily a health thing. So if you did watch that last stream, please know that there is a lot of disadvantages and cons and potential dependency and health problems from jacking up your pharmacology. But to go back to my initial point, just depends what your goals are. You know, my goals right now with fitness, look good, feel good, do cool shit. So if you have different goals, maybe you train differently.
Just, I wanted to send this out to one person because I want to get him on the street.
Burns,
Yeah, no,
power.
I totally agree. I do a lot of functional stuff. Like I love, I mean, kettlebells are 75% of my working out. I find them to be incredibly effective at functional strength. Like I wish I found them earlier, to be honest. Like when I started dock building, you know, I used to call them like, they were like fake tits, my muscles. Like they looked good, but they had no use. You know, like I got out there in the field and I'm like, I'm worth nothing out here. You know, there's like overweight Mexican guys that are just picking up 2 oxygen bottles at the same time. And here I am just like grunting, trying to drag one. And then when I started doing kettlebells, it's like all that changed, man. Like just doing swings, cleans, like all that stuff. I got strong in the field. And I was like, that's interesting. Like I just would have never guessed. And it was cool because it took a lot of time. It took a lot of patience to get good at them. You know, it wasn't one of those, it's not one of those things you just go pick up a 72-pound kettlebell and be an animal. It's like, it won't work. First of all, you'll get hurt, but you won't get the functionality out of it. Like I started with a 35-pound kettlebell, 3 months, just watching videos. What's his name? That Pavlu Tsatsouline dude from Russia.
Yeah.
And, you know, he explains it pretty well, right? How I thought it was so weird how there was such big gaps, right, in the weights of the kettlebells. Right? It's like 35, 55, 72, you know, like we're so used to these incremental little changes. And the way he explains it is he's like, no, like you should do that lower weight until you are completely confident that you could do the 55. Like it should take you months to get there. Like that's how you build true functional strength. And I would say that I agreed with that. Like my physical experience, like that was true. You know, because now I do kettle swings and shit with like a 72-pound kettlebell, but that took 4 years. You know, like that was a long time. And throughout that time, I just got so much stronger. And it was funny when I was doing the research today, it made a lot of sense to me how the nervous system ties into that and how our body programs that. And a lot of it is, you know, our nervous system and repetition, they go hand in hand, you know, like that's how muscle memory is formed. And I just found that stuff to be super true. You know, do you do any kettlebell stuff? Feel like I might be a kettlebell guy.
I used to do kettlebells. I go through I found Pavel way back in the day. Like I think he was originally on Rogan, like
yeah, probably 10 years ago.
10 years ago or something. That's when I actually made kettlebells. You can make, this is really fun. You can do this actually. I call them ghetto bells. So you can take a basketball works best. So depending on what weight you want, you can use a smaller basketball or a bigger basketball. I tried a soccer ball as well, but they don't hold the shape. So all you need to do this, you need a foot length of 1-inch PVC, some sand, string, duct tape, dry pour or quick pour concrete, and a bucket. So you mix the concrete up. And what you do is you put the PVC in the oven on low heat. You fill it up with sand and you run a wet string through it. And then you duct tape the ends, get it wet, put it in the oven until it becomes malleable. And then you find a pot that you can bend it around. You tie the string so it holds its shape. That's how you make the handle. You mix the concrete, pour it in the basketball, put it in, it sets, and you got like a 25-pound ghetto bell.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah, I used to love making my own training stuff.
Yo, that is really cool.
Because kettlebells they're kind of expensive, right? What are they, $2-3 a pound or something sometimes?
Yeah, no, they're not cheap, dude. And like when I was buying them during COVID, they were like double the price. Like they pay
Yeah,
like
you can make a
$60.
You can make a mace the same way. You don't even need to bend the handle, right? You just put the PVC in the concrete, boom, you immediately got a functional mace for functional training for your home gym.
I have one of those. It's like a bag, and it's got you can either put water or sand in it. It's got the lines based on if it's water, it'll be this weight. If it's sand, it'll be this weight, and then it folds over like 3 times, and it has a handle. And I actually keep that inside. That's like something that I keep inside. I think it's 30. It's filled with sand. I think it's 30 pounds. My son tries to pick it up all the time, but it's just good because I could do it in here and like early in the morning, and I don't have to worry. I don't have to go outside or go into my garage. I could just wake up, do my stretches, get some swings, do some stuff with it, and I don't smash the floor. Wake anybody up.
You ever throw the kids in there, rough them up a little bit, make them watch their P's and Q's?
No, my son though. My son does 5 push-ups every day for. I think we started in March.
Tell him that's not enough. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, he turns 5 this month actually, but
What are you, a
funny to
trans?
watch. Dude, it's been funny to watch the progression, right? Because it started with him just laying on the floor, and then he would push himself up, and he'd lay on the floor, and now we're at the point where like they're not good push-ups, but like he's bending his elbows, he's doing some push-ups now, and like we were at a kid's party last week, and it's like all these little girls he's running around with, and he goes, "Want to see something?" And he just stops and starts doing push-ups in the middle of this like laser tag party. I'm like, there he is. It's my guy right there. That's how you do it. That's how you get the chicks.
Hey, and just so you guys know, if you're new to this stream, we have some points to go over. It's a little bit structured. At the end, we're going to open it up for 15, 20 minutes on comments. But if anyone puts a comment in about something we're directly talking about, we might stop and answer it. But just so you guys know, put your comments in. We're going to get to everything at the end. We're going to save a good 15, 20 minutes for that.
Yeah, definitely. What did you think of this research? I thought it was a lot of fun. I found it really practical. Like I was saying, it's cool when you research something and as you're going through it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I lived that. Like I felt that. I thought this was cool. I absolutely didn't realize like how much the nervous system plays into strength training. So just the people know,
Body's command center.
The way we broke it up was I focused more on how the nervous system is used for like strength training and exercise, and Shine focused on like the more like the parasympathetic side, how it helps your brain, how it does like all these other functions, like health functions for your body. So I'm actually excited to hear. I saw a little bit of what he researched, but super cool stuff. But we approached it from 2 different sides. So I think it'll be a good encompassing show on the nervous system in general.
Yeah, the 2 different sides, just in a nutshell. I like to dumb it down for Mang. The sympathetic response, it's for me. The sympathetic response and the parasympathetic response. Basically, the way you can think of that is sympathetic up, parasympathetic down.
Yeah, right. So sympathetic, that's fight or flight, right? That's your flight or fight response. And then the parasympathetic is, yeah, how it, like you said, brings you down. And that all falls under the autonomic nervous system. Those are the 2 components of the autonomic nervous system. And then there's a third component called like an enteric, which has to do with your gut. Has to do with like gut biology. But those are like the main 2 when you talk about the autonomic nervous system. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So do you want to start off with the because your stuff's cool, because you got some breath work in there you could show them, which I think is super cool. Just show them a couple different things that you could do, like the double inhale, exhale for parasympathetic. I think all that stuff's interesting.
Yeah, we can start off with a short little breath that you guys can do with us. This is something I do before. Anytime I feel stressed, before any trades, anytime you feel anxious, overwhelmed, you can do this very quick breath. Shout outs to the Hubes Daddy. Saw this on his pod the other day. So basically all you're going to do, you're going to take a deep inhale through your nose. Another sharp inhale through your nose. And then a full exhale through your mouth with a light audible sigh. Full exhale. And it's amazing. In one breath, Literally one breath, you become noticeably calmer and noticeably clearer, which is going to help you in all aspects of life. I used to think even women like the super energized, hyped up person, but the calmer I become, the more attractive women become to me.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the humming stuff in like yoga, right? Like the
Mhm.
mooing and that was a big thing when I probably took like 5 or 6 yoga classes, and we'd start every class off like that. It definitely makes a chick look less hotter when she's sitting there mooing like a cow, but I got past it. Yoga pants are
Different
thick for
strokes for
that.
different folks, bro. I've
Yeah,
never been harder than when I see a girl moving.
fair, bro. Hey, fair.
You like women that look like cows. I like women that just make. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Dude. No,
I'm sorry.
I moved upstate. It's all they look like. Just a bunch of pigs, potatoes with eyes.
You're in the States, bro. It's a part of your
That's it.
culture. Who am I to judge another man's culture?
Yeah, man. What are you gonna do? Processed
Yeah. So
foods, I blame it on.
when you make that humming noise, it's toning your vagal nerve, which again is creating that parasympathetic response. Whether it's, you see it in yoga all the time. And one thing I really appreciate about Huberman's podcast is he's taken a lot of these kind of esoteric, spiritual woo-woo things
Yeah.
and explained the science behind them.
And he
Like
puts
yoga.
data, that stuff's
Yeah.
been studied too. Like the humming, there's studies on humming for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got one over here. Let's see. Humming increases nasal nitric oxide, opens airways, feels calming. That's a little woo woo. It says it opens nitric oxide 15x.
15x, yeah.
I don't know about that. Like, don't quote me on that one, guys.
I'm
That
pretty
seems like
sure
a
that
lot.
data is from a study though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
because I remember coming across that. So I'm pretty sure that's from a study. I could be
Well,
wrong though.
it is from a study, but if you believe this study, that sounds questionable to me. Anytime it's
Yeah.
like 10x, 15x, I'm like, is it really? But regardless of what it is, it increases nitric oxide.
Yo, what
That's
is
going
this,
to
meme coins? We talking meme coins here?
100x or bust.
That's it,
So
dog.
increasing your nitric oxide, it's going to lead to better pumps. That's why I'm a big proponent of this breath work, right? Because your primary source of fuel, it's not food. You can go days, weeks without food. You can only go minutes without breathing. So breath is your primary oxygen source. A lot of people see it as some like woo woo, hippie, spiritual bullshit. But thanks to guys like Huberman and actual data, we're seeing why this works.
No, for sure. So yeah, I would say before you start, like the central nervous system itself is yeah, it's like you said, it's like the command center. And I mean, it does everything from like muscle activation, coordination, adaptation, recovery. Like it really plays a huge role in not just the training side, but yeah, like you were saying, like general health. It really is kind of the backbone of how we function. If your nervous system is not functioning correctly, you will not function correctly. Period.
Yeah, 100%, man. So do we want to continue on the parasympathetic or you want to bounce back and forth?
Uh, yeah, why don't you go, and then I'll rip my data off all in one shot, just because it kind of the way I have it kind of all flows together. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah. So
we could keep
to
them separate.
bounce back to that physiological side, the double inhale followed by the long exhale, it lowers CO2, increases your vagal tone. Vagus nerve equals the brake pedal of the nervous system. There's a Stanford study, 5 minutes of this daily outperform mindfulness for reducing stress and improving mood. So there's another one called Yoga Nidra that I do every single night for bed. It's a guided body scan medication and it increases that parasympathetic dominance. So you can find this all over Spotify. Maybe I'll drop a link to one maybe in the chat. Oh no, I can't drop a link in that chat. And it's a guided scan. So you sit there being mindful of your breath and it just takes you through different areas in your body simultaneously. When you put focus on an area where the attention flows, energy goes, And so you systematically relax every part of your body. This is another one that Huberman, because again, it's all marketing of this stuff, right? If you call it yoga nidra, people go, oh, what is this hippie bullshit? If you call it non-sleep deep rest, then all of a sudden people find a lot of benefit in it. In one of our last episodes about sleep, we went over the efficacy of 26-minute naps, right? There was the NASA nap studies. If you can't nap, some of us have a lot of trouble napping. You can do a 10, 15-minute yoga nidra, and it gives you almost the same benefits of that nap. And there's a breath that I like to do while I'm doing it. It's 4 seconds in through the nose, 7 seconds out.
You don't hold it at all? What's
Not
that
on this
called?
one in particularly.
Oh, okay. Because I want to say I do you breathe
Box
in for
breathing?
5 seconds.
Yeah,
Hold,
it's
yeah, that's it.
box
Box breathing. That was what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, I do that at night. That's like one of the last things I do before I go to bed. It's like in for 5 seconds, hold for 6 seconds, out for 7 seconds, do it like 5 times. It's nothing crazy, but it
There's a
does
lot
do
of
something to
variations.
your body.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of variations. You can do a 5-5-5. You can do different amounts.
Yeah, stuff's cool.
What else we got? Even just too, when you're feeling really stressed out, even just a big sigh, just anytime you sigh, you let that energy out of your body. This is getting a little bit woo, bro. Can you jump into some science?
Yeah.
I'm getting embarrassed. I'm turning red, bro. I can't let the Giga Boys find out how much of a hippie I truly am. Not yet. I need to infiltrate the upper echelons a little more first.
So like I was saying, he focused on that side of this, the parasympathetic side. I didn't. I focused more on the sympathetic side, which is just how it helps with strength training and lifting, right? So like I said before, it's your central nervous system is the command center for muscle activation, coordination, adaptation, recovery. And then it kind of breaks down into these like 8 categories. The first one's motor unit recruitment, which is pretty cool. So your nervous system activates what's called a motor unit, which really is just a neuron that's attached to like a muscle fiber. That's what makes it move, right? So when you're strength training, what happens is your body learns to recruit these motor units more efficiently, but in particular, these high threshold ones. They do that for heavy lifting and for sprinting. Those are 2 things that require a lot of energy fast, right? So why that's interesting is what it does is it makes you stronger without necessarily increasing muscle size, right? That's why 2 good examples of this would be like a CrossFit, like a CrossFit pro athlete. The way he looks, like he wouldn't be the biggest guy in your gym. Like he wouldn't. He's a big guy, but he's not the biggest. But there's a good chance he's one of the strongest. And then like an Olympic sprinter. When you look at an Olympic sprinter compared to an Olympic long distance runner, Olympic sprinters are jacked. Like they have a lot of fast twitch muscle, and that has to do with like these motor unit recruitments. And then the other thing that's big is what's called neural adaptation. I thought this was pretty interesting, right? So you guys could probably attest to this. Early strength gains that you get when you work out, like the first 4 to 8 week period, actually don't come from hypertrophy, right? What it comes from is neural adaptation. And what that means is your body's improved its ability to become stronger through coordinated muscle signals and like just enhancing force production. It doesn't have to do with the strength. And that's why most people, when they start to work out, they'll have those incredible gains, right? The first 6 weeks, and then they'll hit that plateau. And that's kind of what jacked based MGR was talking about last week, where you can't like fake the funk with strength. Like you don't just get strong overnight. That's not how it works. Like it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. He talked about the waves that he does, right? 6 to 8 week waves. So I thought that was pretty interesting that that first strength that you get is really just your nervous system adjusting to working out, making all the movements more efficient. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I've definitely had that, right? Like you start a new workout plan, you see like those gains right out of the gate, and then you just plateau, and then you got to lift hard to work through that. And that kind of leads to the next thing, which is like muscle memory and learning. So how the nervous system refines motor patterns is just through repetition, right? So like just consistently practicing the same things, what it does is strengthen these neural pathways that we have. making movements like squats, deadlifts, push-ups, almost unconscious, right? I mean, I'm sure you could say, like, for me, push-ups is one of these things. Like, I could roll out of bed, be absolutely dead, and do 70 push-ups in a row. And that's just
Really?
because, yeah, I've been doing
Wow.
push-ups for, I mean, that was like mainly what I did for all through COVID. And, like there's people, like I bet you Jack Base MGR could do that with squats. Like he could throw 2 plates on a bar, something that would, I could do it, but it wouldn't be fun. And he could probably rep out 15 reps right out of bed. And it's just because that repetition, that muscle memory, that is all built on your nervous system. Because the more repetitions it does, the more comfortable it gets, and it strengthens these neural pathways. And that's kind of how our brain works too, right? With thoughts, is what is blue? What
He's
is blue?
cracking me up, bro. I'm trying to focus. He's cracking me up.
But like thoughts are the same way, right? Like neuroplasticity, like the way that our thoughts work, that kind of like goes into some stuff that you could touch on more. But if you just keep thinking the same thoughts, right? Like that's kind of where everything falls. That's why cynical people stay cynical, optimistic people stay optimistic. It's all just based on repetition. Not just for our brain, but for our body. And then the fourth thing would be like rate of force development. So like our nervous system generates how quickly muscles need to generate force, right? So like training improves firing of those neurons. So that's like explosive movements, like power cleans, box jumping, sprints, Olympic lifts. Those are things that require a lot of force fast. That all comes from the nervous system. And then the next one, this is a tough word, proprioception and coordination. So sensory neurons are in our muscles, tendons, and joints. So what they do is they provide like real-time data feedback to our brain while we're in motion based on, like joint angles, muscle position, but it does it all subconsciously. So that's what proprioception is. They also call it like our sixth sense, right? So that's our body's ability to position in movements and stuff without relying on our vision at all. So, for example, you could close your eyes and touch your nose, right? That's proprioception. When you when you're squatting or doing any type of lift and it's either really heavy or it's a high rep and you're at the end of the set, when you're struggling and you finish it, that's proprioception. That is, your muscles are firing. They're called proprioceptors. That's what they're called. They're firing in real time, telling your brain like, this arm's coming down, this arm. You're based on the angles and the body position, and that's the stuff that really helps us from not getting hurt. Right? Like, I don't know about you. When I started box jumping, I realized it a lot because I was always an athlete, but I never really box jumped. It's like 2 years ago. And I would fall off the box all the time. I was super sore the first like 2 weeks. And now I could do like a one leg 36-inch box jump. It doesn't really matter. Do I have to shut off the comments for you? But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then we already talked about the autonomic nervous system. So again, that's your sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. That's activated while we work out, right? So you could boost your heart rate and give you energy to do the workout. And then the other one is the parasympathetic. So that's like on the way down. Parasympathetic helps us recover. And the autonomic nervous system is both parts together, right? So that works in homeostasis to keep us recovering and active while we train to adapt to whatever we're doing unconsciously, right? Like we don't have to worry about that stuff. That's just built into our bodies. And then I would say this is the most important one that gets overlooked about working out in the nervous system is adaptation to stress. So any type of strength training, really any training in general, but specifically strength training, it stresses the nervous system, right? So it prompts adaptation instantly, which increases neural drive and resiliency to not just physical fatigue, but mental fatigue. There is so many studies that are done that show that just basic lifting helps with your mental acuity and your mental resiliency. And that's all tied back to our nervous system.
Yeah, it's really interesting how you think it's just muscles and strength that's providing those numbers and those lifts. But in reality, You know, you see with top athletes, it's not necessarily that they're stronger in everything. It's that their nervous system is more conditioned and wires and fires properly. I thought that was really, really interesting. And to touch what you were saying too, you know, chronic training equals a higher baseline for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF for short. And when you have higher levels of BDNF, your brain is in a hyper state of neuroplasticity. And the
It's like
more your brain
miracle
is in
growth for your brain, right?
yeah, well, when your brain's in a heightened state of neuroplasticity, it makes learning and developing new habits and new behaviors easier. This goes back to what we've been saying on streams. Working out isn't just something that you do for your body. It's something that's essential and integral to just proper neuronal health.
Yeah, no, that BDFN is super interesting. How it really is like miracle growth for your brain, and it's released during working out and like strength training, any type of working out. But a lot of the data shows strength training, which to me I didn't understand for a while until I started to pick some heavy stuff up, like to mix it in. And there is a different energy exerted when you're. And again, I don't lift heavy things. Like I said, I have a 72-pound kettlebell. I'll do weighted dips with that on a band, stuff like that. But when you're going from that to just a regular dip, it's a totally different thing. The energy required is insane.
Focus.
I'm focused.
They're cracking me up, bro.
But talk about, so did you come across in your data stuff that you could do to kick up your sympathetic nervous system, like in the morning or like before a workout?
Yeah, so one of the things I started doing, this has gotten really popular. A lot of people like to do cold after their workout, right? They think because it creates an anti-inflammatory effect, it helps buffer lactic acid that is going to increase recovery. When in reality, you want to hit the cold before you train. So that's something I've integrated. You hear that a lot on podcasts these days, but hitting that cold exposure, when you hit that cold exposure, it jacks up your norepinephrine 200 to 300%. That's going to create that sympathetic response drive and give you a better workout. So before, I like to do the cold after. Now I do the cold before. So I do the cold before and then the heat after. So that's something, people do that in the morning as well. They get their cold exposure in.
That's what I do. I do the cold shower in the morning when I wake up. That shit'll
We
wake you.
don't have
especially when
cold water really here in Bali, so I can't.
So when especially when I started pushing the caffeine off, right? I found that cold shower and then that electrolyte mix is that gets me to 11 o'clock, and then I have a cup of coffee. But especially up here in the Northeast in the winter, the cold showers in December are like, whew.
And then you can also do like fast nasal breathing before a workout. If you want to get fired up, I made a video about this the other day, but it's something called breath of fire in Kundalini. It's a Kundalini yoga kriya. So if you want to do some breathing, that's going to anchor, increases your heart rate and brainwave arousal. You can do a minute. I made a breath work one the other day. You can find it on my page. You can do a minute of something called breath of fire. This is that one you saw me doing on stream. So it's sharp exhales through your nose, pumping your stomach. The inhale happens automatically. It's going to look like this. And just doing that 30 seconds to 60 seconds, same thing. It's going to give you that sympathetic response, waking you up. It's a great one that I love doing in the morning. You can also do it before your workout.
Sunlight ties into that, right? With the sympathetic, like sun exposure, right? I know Huberman talks about that a lot. That all ties into the nervous system.
I love too how he calls walking forward ambulation.
Like, I know, but it's great. You got to rebrand it, baby.
It's such a funny way to sound. Like, dude, Huberman, you're already hyper intelligent, bro. You can just call it walking. You don't have to call it in the morning. I like to forwardly ambulate. Like, bro,
I love that because it's like you said. It's like walking gets a bad rap, man. When really, if most people just walked 10 minutes when they woke up, they would feel way better.
Do you hate walking? But do you like results? Have you considered forward ambulation?
Dude, the first time I heard him say that, I was dying. It's
He
like,
won't
does he
stop
stay
until he gets
walking?
both of us to flex for the camera.
I have a sweatshirt on.
Just flex, bro.
What
Give
are we
the
doing
people
here? No, I'm
give
just
the
giving the people what they want. Blue is ambushing the comments. We will not have this. But outside of Blue, does anyone have comments, questions?
Don't entertain him. But I'm an entertainer. That's literally what I do. What the people want.
I would actually love to hear Jacked Face MGR's thoughts on nervous system and what he does, like what he if any of this stuff goes into play with him. Because I heard him talk about sleep. I thought that was interesting. You know, that he takes sleep super important, and as you get deeper into that wave and you're lifting heavier, you need more sleep. Like there's no way around it. And that I thought that was interesting. I figured a guy like him would be like, you sleep when you're dead, and he's like, nah, dude, like nope.
100%.
Yeah, he's like, no shot, man. That's not how this works.
Best food for the nervous system. I mean, I think the best food is just whole foods. We're both a big believer in whole foods. You know, just healthy, organic, grass-fed meat, well balanced, get your macros in. I don't do keto. I've done keto before. I've gotten good results on it. I do clean carbohydrates now.
Yeah, I
I
would
don't
say
think there's any
that's
secret to food. It's just eat good shit that grows out of the ground. Eat grass-fed meat. It's really
yeah,
simple.
that's a good question though, and sometimes the answer to that question is not what you should eat, but what you shouldn't eat, right? You know, and I think when you approach that question like that, it's easier to execute, right? Like like you said, eat whole foods. You know, I think eggs are nature's multivitamin. You know, they're such an important part of my diet. But like again, is it the eggs that's important, or is it the fact that I don't eat that donut and cereal or that bagel, like all those processed carbs? It's like it's tough to tell which part's more important, because if I were to eat that, then I would have an inflamed body, and inflammation slows down your nervous system, slows down the way your synapses fire, leads to brain fog, joint pain. You know, that all comes from bad food. You know what I mean?
Serious talk. When you feel your vagus nerve activate, how do you calm yourself down physiologically? So I did it at the starting. I'll do it again quick. It's this really, it's this easy breath you can do. It's a long inhale through your nose, followed by a second short, sharp inhale through your nose, and then a full exhale out of your stomach. Sigh through your mouth. I love that, bro. It just completely resets me. Breathing. Breathing is the best, quickest way. Breathing, humming, best ways to calm down your nervous system
Well, I would
quickly.
say a big problem, especially. Do you ever read Breath by James Nestor? It's one of the best books I ever read.
Oh,
It's
I
all
have.
about. Oh, it's a good one, dude. You would love that one. It's all about just the history, and then like the way our bodies breathe, and how babies actually they breathe perfect. They breathe from their stomach into their chest, and basically what he explains is how that actually gets worse over time. And then what happens is, as we get older, based on a bunch of different psychological factors, also explained how mouth breathing is so bad for you, so bad for your body, for your brain, to the point that mouth breathing actually makes your mouth smaller. That's why a lot of people have to get their teeth pulled out, because
Is
over
that what
time they just
happened
keep.
with your little jaw?
Yeah, my little Zika head. But
What's the
it
name of the
was
book?
interesting.
Breathing. Breathing by James
Breath,
Nestor.
Breath by James Nestor. But it all, as we get older, the way that we breathe changes, and a lot of it has to do with because stressful environments, just over time, and we start to just breathe from our chest, shallow breaths. We don't take full breaths as adults. And he goes over all of this data, and how just simply fixing the way you breathe will change the way your body works, like literally your whole body. And then I started to do like I started to like really focus on it. That was when I started to tape my mouth at night, just to see if like I was breathing out of my mouth all night. and it was really interesting to do. I don't have to tape my mouth anymore. I nose breathe at night. Like I'm like very conscious of that. But it was you should read that book. That's a cool one. At the end, the last half hour of that book on audio is him like with some Tibetan monk just doing these crazy breath work things. But he really proves that you probably don't breathe right as an adult across the world. It wasn't just in America. It was all over Europe, Australia. You start to just breathe from your chest and you do these shallow breaths. And you could probably speak more on this. When you don't take full breaths, your nervous system gets overran. You get frustrated, you get flustered, and a lot of that could get changed with simple breath work, just simple breathing. Like I was doing like belly breath stuff for months just to try to understand it. Like I had never really done that before. And it feels foreign. And now it's like I just do it automatically. But you have to like reteach yourself how to do that.
That's why I think doing breath work in the morning. That's why, again, big proponents of morning practices, because I feel like whatever you do in the morning sets up those habits and those patterns of behavior for the rest of the day. So every single day, even if it's 3 or 5 minutes, I do that breath work in the morning. And by doing that breath work in the morning, I'm setting myself up to have a calmer, more balanced day. Because then every time I get stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, it's all about developing positive coping mechanisms. What let's say you get stressed. Most people are going to reach for their vape, right? For that temporary hit of nicotine that's going to spike their dopamine, it's going to spike their epinephrine. But as soon as that high comes down, it's going to leave you in a more stressed out state than when you began. When you
Lowers the base level.
exactly, when you program in this breathing in the morning, when you get stressed, like I used to have a huge drug problem. When I would get stressed out, my coping mechanisms were wanting to go and fucking get crazy, go on a bender. Now I've reprogrammed that. I get stressed out. I'm like, where can I do yoga? Where can I do breath work? And it's all about reprogramming yourself to have those coping mechanisms, because whether you know it or not, we all inherently have coping mechanisms to cope with stressful situations. It's about programming the right ones in until they become your default. And breathing something, I got into yoga when I was 18, maybe 17 years ago. And I've been doing breath work more than ever. You might notice my energy's a little bit calmer. I've been doing breath work. I've been doing probably 2 hours of breathing every single day. I've been doing 30 minutes in the morning, 15, 20 minutes in the afternoon. I've been doing these breath work classes almost every single night that are 75 minutes. And I feel fucking amazing. Like I feel
75
really
minutes,
good.
huh? Now, is a
Yeah.
lot of that almost like a guided meditation, like you were talking about before? Because I've done that before, where it like you scan your whole body. Like you start at your feet, and that's people don't realize the amount of like mental strength. Like it takes a lot of focus to do that. Even though you're quote unquote relaxed, like you have to, especially like someone like me, that's like my brain is a million miles an hour all day, every minute. Meditation was super difficult for me to understand. Now I look at prayer as meditation. I think they have a lot of similarities. Like I pray in the morning. I think it's very similar to meditation. It's very calm and quiet, and you're doing a lot of the same things. But I just think people don't try meditation, or they try it once and they stop because it's hard. And it's like, yeah, bro, it's supposed to be fucking hard. It's like going to the gym's hard. Like, these are your brain's a muscle too. People forget that.
And your lungs as well.
Yeah, I
Like
got that thing.
when you're breathing, you're exercising your lungs, which again, oxygen, your main source of fuel. Like Mang said, no, it's not. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana.
Can
That's
you
the
see what
boss
it
route.
says?
Is that
Yeah,
the
I
boss
don't know if
route in
you guys
oxygen
could
training?
see. It's called the O2 trainer. For any of you bros, this thing is not expensive. I think it's like $50 maybe. So what it is it's a mouthpiece and it has these different gauges on it. And like Sean was just saying, you actually have like 13 pounds of breathing muscles, and to think that you don't have to work those out is crazy. And what you find out is a bunch of these guys do this. There's a couple different ones. This is the one that I have. and you start at a higher gauge, that like 10 is easier than 2. Like I think I'm at a 3. And basically you like put it in your mouth, you bend over and completely exhale, and then you pull in while you breathe in through this while you come up, and it's restricted. When I tell you, when I started doing this, I was sore like I just ran like if you ever run long distance, the next day your ribs will be sore. It's like your legs will be sore, but your ribs will hurt. Dude, my ribs hurt so bad for the first like few weeks of using this. I would highly recommend that O2 trainer. And yeah, Boss Rutan made it. Legendary Pride UFC fighter.
I got to meet him when I had my fight. He was one of the commentators.
He's awesome. Dude, he is one of my favorite, like a true savage. Oh, you want to pull up this guy's question? I just saw it right now.
Quickly, do you know the story of why he created that?
No.
So Boss suffered from really violent asthma attacks when he was younger.
That's right.
To the point where he just found, so what happens when you have asthma, it's an inflammatory response, so your breathway gets constricted. So he found when he had to struggle and fight for his breath, he always noticed that when he got over his asthma, he just
breathe better, right?
To breathe way better.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he
that's
the
right.
Same formula of constricting the airways to build the muscle capacity.
Yeah, that's so you see this Elise?
Which
I'm trying to read it on the side. 1016. Cryptic Mon's explanation of why you see crazy results in the first 6 weeks was great and helped me understand why it happens to me every time. I always thought it had to do with metabolism. So with that said, does this change significantly at some point with age? That's a great question. And I think more it's not about if that changes, it's about understanding why that happens and knowing that those gains were really your body getting used to what you were doing. And now you start, right? Like now you start. Like whatever that plateau is, like you look at it as this is where I start now. As like Jack Base MGR would say, this is where your wave starts. Here's your new 8 weeks. And I do that. Those 2 podcasts were incredible because I never really did that, not in a long time, where you increase something every week. You focus on 1 or 2 exercises where you're going to hit these goals and increase them every week. I think that's great. I've got, I did definitely do that when I was younger. You're right. You're always trying to lift a little heavier every time, trying to get to something, but I never set up a goal and set out a schedule. And I think that's a great way to blow through those plateaus after that first 4 to 6 week period is you set up a schedule where you just keep grinding and your nutrition and your sleep and everything moves up with it precipitously. I think that's how you would bust through that, brother.
We got Tim to Kill. Thanks for the book suggestion. Building a story brand. Yeah, no problem. It's the best book I've ever read on marketing. Grounding is quite important for the nervous system. Absolutely.
That is not woo-woo at all. You could that's real. That's 100% real. Go get your feet in the grass every day.
Go hug a tree. Why does it feel so good hugging a tree?
I'm not gonna say to hug a tree. I think you should just.
I'm gonna say it, dude. I got a fucking ponytail, bro, and I'm gonna say it. We're 7 streams in. It's time to show you the real me.
So Hop said, I want to hear about the 10-day meditation retreat.
Yeah, so this is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. It's called Vipassana, and it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I did this on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. And it's basically 12 hours of meditation. And Vipassana meditation, it's nothing fancy, it's nothing guided, it's not breath work, it's nothing fun. All you're doing is breathing in and out of your nose, just really gently. And at first you just focus on the sensation of the breath as it hits your upper lip. And then you keep going down more and more and more, closing the spot more and more until you're basically focused on nothing. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done the whole time. Like you have no books, you're not talking to people, they're not making eye contact. You're in a group setting, but there's nothing. You're not even supposed to. I would probably cheat and do yoga if I do it again, and I think I will. You're not supposed to exercise, do yoga, nothing. Wow. They just want to make it as hard as possible. Even you're not even supposed to sit on cushions. They want to make it as painful as possible. So you have to overcome this physical pain. That's why they don't want you stretching. They don't want you working out. They just want you sitting there in your body, feeling this pain. And it blew my mind because you are never going to get such an intimate look into your subconscious. It astonished me. You never just sit. How often do you spend in a day just sitting there meditating, being with your own thoughts? There's things that are happening subconsciously in your mind all the time that you have no idea. You have no idea the thoughts and the voices that are going on in your head that are driving the behavior that you engage with daily. And when I actually had to sit there for 10 days, I was astonished and kind of disgusted actually of what I was just thinking about. Thinking about like I'm not even going to talk about it on the stream actually. Maybe at a later stream. Maybe if the stream gets big enough. But
Shine is gonna explain what he was thinking about.
Well, and before I went in, let's say I was having trouble with impulse control, or I was having trouble I was drinking a lot when I was in Australia, and I was on a lot of social media. I was just kind of wasting my time. I felt very directionless, not very focused. A lot of impulses, addictive behavior. And when I went into Vipassana, I was confronted with the thoughts that were creating that addictive behavior, and I was kind of disgusted to say, this world is amazing. You can create anything. You can do anything. You could climb the highest mountain. You could create masterpieces. And to see what my subconscious was just constantly focused on money and blah, 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 and just absolute bullshit. And so I really got to intimately sit and be with my thoughts. Not only that, but you do a complete dopamine fast. You're not looking at screens. Most of our dopamine is so hijacked every single day. That's another thing that stimulates your nervous system constantly. When you're doom scrolling, the human brain isn't designed to take in so much information all the time. Whether you know it or not, if you're sitting there and you're watching like fuck around, find out videos of people just dying, that does a lot to your nervous system on a level, and to your dopamine depletion on a level that you don't fully understand. And you can do a smaller scale of this. You can do, Alex Becker's is someone that's a huge proponent of dopamine fasting. He regularly does these 48-hour dopamine fasts. No music, no screens, nothing, no stimulants, resetting your dopamine receptors. Because when you reset, the more you overstimulate your dopamine receptors, whether that's with nicotine, caffeine, screens, crypto, whatever it is, the less drive you're actually going to have, because dopamine is the chemical that's primary responsible. It's your primary reward mechanism. The more depleted your dopamine is, the less enjoyment and the less reward that you're going to get from the things that would normally drive your survival.
A lot of sense. No, that makes a lot of. So what was that like? So it's 10 days, right? By
it was
day
amazing,
5, have you adjusted? You know what I'm saying?
100%. I thought, I'm a chatty Cathy. I'm a very social person. I thought the hardest part for me was going to be not being able to talk to people. That was probably the easiest part. After a couple days in, it was actually incredible. You don't realize how much social pressure there is when you're around people all the time to perform a certain way, to talk, to engage in behavior. You don't realize the social pressure to be able to just be around people without having to interact, without having any pressure. It was actually amazing. It felt so good to just be around people. And again, no eye contact, no connection, nothing. We were all on this journey together, but we were all alone. And the not talking was probably the easiest part.
Interesting.
The sitting was the hardest part, bro. I cheated a little bit. I had some cushions and shit. I remember because, dude, it's hard enough, right? Like some of these practices, they become dogmatic and almost masochistic, where I'm just like, why can't I do some yoga before? Yoga is literally designed to put your body in a better state for meditation. But sometimes practices become dogmatic. They want to make things painful for the sake of pain. I'm results oriented. If something else makes it work better, I don't need to feel more pain. People feel enough. I've felt enough pain. You know what I mean? I remember as soon as it ended, one of the things I noticed was just a real sense of ego death. The ego is always there. It's always there to try to make you survive. It's people think the ego is evil. It's not at all. It's there to protect you. It's there to guide you. Having a healthy relationship with your ego is one of the best things you can do. As soon as it ended, bro, there's this German guy, and he was like talking to me. He's like, "How was your experience?" I was like, "Yeah, it was like amazing, incredible." And he's like, "I noticed you were sitting on a lot of cushions, hey?" I was like, "God damn, bro, 10 days and your ego is so strong still." Why are you focusing on me on the cushions, bro? But I literally felt like Neo out of the Matrix at the end. I was in this mall. I had to go to an ATM to get some money for something. And I just saw how unconscious and how unaware and unmindful people are of their actions all the time. They're doing things, but they're not present with their actions. I felt like Neo, and maybe this is a little bit of an ego thing, but I felt like I was so hyper aware of everything. Like the muscle memory was still there. You know, I'd be in a social setting, somebody would hand me a drink, the muscle memory to grab the drink would be there. But all of a sudden, there was just kind of this buffer in this space of, do I actually want this? No, actually, same with picking up my phone. I'd go to like jump on Facebook or social media. I'd pick it up and go, oh no, this isn't a pattern that I actually want to engage in. And just allowing yourself that space, because people are always unconsciously driven by these patterns, checking their phone. You may be at lunch with someone, they check their phone, and you don't think, oh, I'm going to check my phone as well. You just go,
Go to the restaurant. You look around. Half the people are on their phones when they're sitting there with their family across from someone. I think a lot of that comes from like you were talking about with the dopamine, immediate, like this immediate gratification that we have now in so many different ways, right? Especially online. You see it a lot in crypto too. You know, everything has to be immediate, and the truth is, nothing worthwhile happens overnight. Period. Like everything is earned. There is no shortcuts. There is no free lunch. That's just how life works. And I don't know where that changed, where people thought, I think it was because people made some money quick, you know what I mean? But that's just not how it works. You can anything in my life that's been incredible I've earned it, you know.
yeah, 100%, man. And again, this ties back to your nervous system, because if you're constantly taking in information, one of the best things my therapist ever said was, you know, on the path to recovery and rehabilitation, being okay with just being bored. This was a huge principle in Stoicism too. Just long walks, finding that boredom, because in that boredom comes innovation, comes creativity. Most people never tap into their full potential and their full creative abilities because they always want stimulation. And if you're overstimulated, you never really have access to all of these ideas that are floating in the ethers.
No, it's a good point. That's true. We're so and hey, I'm guilty of it too. You know, like I love to listen to podcasts and shit, but yeah, and it's almost got to the point where it's like I listen to something and I'm not even listening. Like I'm still like doing my thoughts, but I have like a podcast on in the background, which is terrible. You know, like that's a terrible habit to have. But yeah, that's totally true, man. Like you should be able to sit in silence. 10 days. That's really interesting, man. I would like to try that because that would
I
drive
want
me fucking
I want
nuts.
You'd be surprised, man. Because again, you were saying, you know, how much discipline it takes to do breathing. And again, I've been doing this for a long time. But when you just think about it, when you break it down, you can do this with all tasks. You're not breathing for an hour. You're just taking one breath. I apply this to all things, right? Like when you're building a business, you don't think about the entire business you have to build. You just think, what do I have to do in this moment to go forward? It's incredibly overwhelming to think of everything you have to do. But when you break it down in small steps, just like the Vipassana, you know, it's one breath at a time. You can breathe one time. All of a sudden you breathe for one day. Okay, you can do that for 2 days now. Once you prove it to yourself on a small scale, you know you can scale up because you've already shown yourself you can do that.
Yeah, long distance running really helped me with that. Where it's like you're going on a 10-mile run and you're 3 miles in and like your body's doing all this shit trying to get you to stop. And like I would be running, I did a lot of my running in New York City, right? So I'd just be like, all right, let's just get to that stop sign, you know, like let's get to that store. And you just, instead of looking at 10 miles, you just bring it all the way down, right? Like sometimes it'd be like literally like 5 feet in front of me, you know, you're just like, let's get to that. And then let's get to that. And then next thing you know, you're at 7 miles and you moved past it, right? Your brain has rewired itself. Like that's another thing is a lot of people don't get their mind and their bodies to operate on the same plane. It's very difficult to do. But once you achieve that, that's where the limitless power comes from. You know, like a lot of times our brain quits before our body. Our body could take a fucking beating, like a beating, but our brain quits first. And it's like once you could get those two to sync up, that's where the power comes from.
Yeah, and that kind of dives back, and I'll give you guys some supplements as well for the parasympathetic response, but that kind of ties back into proprioception. So there's something really interesting that happens in stretching. When you really want to stretch, you have to breathe. Why? Because when
Yep.
you feel those pain signals telling you that you need to stop, that's not even close to your full range. It's
So
not even
true, dude.
close. The body is turning a fight or flight system to try to protect you. But when you learn how to breathe, go into that parasympathetic response, then all of a sudden you realize that you can go so much further. You can tell your body with breath, hey, it's okay. We're safe right now. And once it gets that signal that we're safe, you can move past what you thought your prior limit was.
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. Especially with stretching. That's so true. Do you guys even lift? Yeah, for sure. I promise.
I've just been doing yoga and Pilates, bro. So some supplements, because I got a hard stop in a few minutes because I am in fact going to power yoga. Really excited. Not gay at all. Yoga's fucking sick, dude. So for calming down your nervous system, some good supplements are glycine. You might remember that from the sleep, from the sleep pod. Glycine before bed. You can take glycine anytime. If you find yourself having, an anxiety attack or whatever, taking glycine is an amazing supplement. Magnesium glycinate, that's another one that's going to calm down the nervous system. It can be any form of magnesium. Glycinate is the best for relaxation. Some adaptogens you can take. Rhodiola rosea is a fantastic one. Ashwagandha is another fantastic one. Basically, any adaptogen, in the word adaptogen, what that's doing is helping your body adapt to stress. There's a lot of different adaptogens you can take. Those are kind of 4 of my favorites.
Love it. Does anyone else have any other questions before we split? I think next week we're gonna do an interview. I gotta make sure we line it up. So I'll definitely post it during the week. Good buddy of mine runs a gym. He trains a bunch of like all state athletes. He's an awesome guy. I've known him for a long time. Real Chad, works out like an animal. He's up out of his house at 4 a.m., gets home at like 9 at night. Like I said, he runs his own gym. He's a ton of knowledge, be able to really shed some light on some workout stuff. Not like the powerlifting stuff, like jack-based MGR. More, it would be a little different.
That was so epic.
Dude, I'm telling you that those 2 shows were so great. Like I learned a ton.
And that's what I love about doing this stream too. One episode might be with a power lifter, bodybuilder that's going to show you every single steroid under the sun that you can take to get your gains up. And, another one might be more health focused, focusing on sympathetic and parasympathetic responses.
Crypto Cub, that book was James, it's Breath. It's Breath or Breathe by James Nestor. That was that. I meant to answer that before. But yeah, this was a good space. A little gayer than usual. We'll try to turn it up next time. Sorry about that.
Hey man, it's all like, obviously you're joking, but I think a lot of people have these limiting beliefs of thinking something is masculine or feminine. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Does it get you results? Does it move you in the direction that you want? You can judge things all day if you want, but they're only going to limit you. The more open mind you have with these things, the more you just try different things and see, does this work for me? The more ahead you're going to get in life. You could be like, like the male cheerleaders in high school. I'm playing football over here. We're tapping each other's asses. We're calling these guys gay. Meanwhile, there's 2 of these guys with 20 cheerleaders and they're grabbing their butts.
Cheerleaders now, those male cheerleaders, those
That's what I'm training for, bro. I'm putting in work here in Bali so I can try to be a Vikings male cheerleader.
That's how we do it. We got to send Shine out to the Dallas Cowboys. Let you be the.
Give me a G. Give me an I. Give me a G.
Oh, I love it. Dude, appreciate you. This was a good one, man.
That was fun, man. Yeah, it was a blast. So, any quick summary? Sympathetic response up, parasympathetic down. The more you're able to master that both responses, sympathetic before your gains, parasympathetic down. We didn't even touch on saunas, another amazing one you can do post-workout for your recovery, putting yourself in a parasympathetic response. There's a Swedish study that showed that sauning 15 to 20 minutes a day, 4 times a week, decreased all rate mortality 40%. So that's another incredible one you can have.
The famous study. There's been more done. There's been more done since then, and that was based on a regular sauna. Like that's one thing I got to caveat there. Not like a red light infrared sauna, like a stone hot sauna thing, because that data is not there. Just in terms of that study, that was like a real old school sauna, not like a red light one. Our first Giga cheerleader.
So decreased all rate mortality 40%.
Across the board. So that means that if you did 15 to 20 minutes, 4 days a week, you decrease your chance of dying from a heart attack, cancer, like any type of cancer, dementia, 40%. And that's like a super famous study. No one could question that study. That study's been rigorously looked over and tried to be debunked. And they've done more studies since then. That's just like the most famous one. But yeah, that's 100% true. Anyone that tells you it's not, it's just not.
But is that like a correlation causation thing, right? Like, is it actually just from saunas, or is it that people that tend to engage in sauna activity live healthier lives in general, right? That's
in that study they tried to keep like a lot of controls in that sense, but really what it came down to is those heat shock proteins. When you put there's heat shock proteins and there's cold shock proteins, and what they do is they're like, it's almost like stem cells. It's like superpower. They heal. I mean, they do a ton of stuff, but the heat shock proteins was one of the main reasons why the sauna was so effective. Was when you get to a certain temperature, your body releases these heat shock proteins that are super good. They kill a bunch of bad cells. A lot of it's like reduce inflammation, all that stuff. But that research is pretty dialed down in that sense. But again, it's people think that that's all sauna activity, and I think that there is a difference. So until that data gets better, you know what I mean? Like I have a cheap sauna thing in my garage. It's like heats up water. It's like a tent, what I'm talking about? Did you ever see one of those?
Bro. Yeah, I cut weight in one of those for my fight.
Yeah. So like there's no way to me that is the same as like going into a sauna in the gym with the big oven thing when you're literally feel like you're baking like a fucking chicken finger. Like there's no way that's the same.
Yeah, a couple other quick little woo-woo ones. They found gratitude, doing 3 things daily or nightly that leads to better mood and also HRV improvements. Forest bathing, which I'm guessing is just being out in nature, which would refer back to the grounding. They found that increased NK immune cells, and that lasts up to 30 days. Another really cool one that I've been doing recently for kind of somatic therapy stuff is EFT, emotional freedom tapping. And they found that decreases cortisol 24 to 34%. So those are some more resources. I got to run though. Hard stop, man. This was a fun one, bro. Really enjoyed it. Went a little off topic, but I think the conversation was good.
Yeah, it was good, man. Hey, commit to something. I like that line. We'll keep that.
About to go do hella jawline exercises and buy more Giga.
I love
Hop,
that.
thanks for sharing. We love you, Hop. You're the fucking man. Anything else?
This is a low T Giga test. This is a low test Giga campaign.
The
Bitcoin
lowest T.
Poop guy.
Yeah.
make it make sense. I went to his page. He's a poop aura guy. So
you checked out, dude. He won if you went to his page.
That's about as far as I went. I was just curious.
I'm literally going to have to raise my TRT because Bitcoin Poop said something mean to me. I'm going to be writing about it in my diary tonight. I'm like, yo, this one guy said something mean to me on a stream.
If you guys saw, I mean, this guy
said too much. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Giga Motion. We will be back next Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there's anything that you guys want to see on the show, let us know.
Stay Giga.
Stay Giga. Oh, he left me hanging, bro. He just left me. Love you guys. Love you guys.
Most of us often chase rather pumps than established memes. And a green candle is somehow spoiled for us until it's screenshot. We stare at charts, forgetting it changes nothing. We watch charts, but not ourselves. This is a disaster. For as a result of confusing dopamine hits with actual profit, we are destroying our net worth. We are so tied up in FOMO and charts that we've lost all conviction. Time to wake up. What is alpha? Obviously, nobody can say, because it isn't just drawing lines on charts. It isn't rotation meta, that's just an idea. Alpha is the Giga cycle cannot be explained in words.